Why don't you ask them a question?
Spun it around on them.
Or actually, we do have.
Oh, go ahead. You have some questions? Please ask.
Sure, go ahead.
In a stock exchange, there are bid and ask stacks that establish the price of a transaction. How does a cryptocurrency establish a price? Why does it fluctuate? How does it fluctuate? How is that happening?
So it's the exact same. There's an order book and an order engine on exchanges, and those aren't necessarily the same across exchanges. They aren't synchronized, right? So I'd say it's the exact same as what you just said, and then sort of the average of all of the bid and ask prices across all the exchanges is sort of that coin market cap number you see, right? The Bitcoin is at 700 today, but really on GDAX it's at, or sorry, Ethereum's at 700 today, but really at GDAX it's on, you know, it's like 730, Kraken it's like 650 or whatever, so they just take the average. Does anybody else have a response?
Just one side note, so the more sophisticated trading engines will let you put in your own fees, right? You've probably seen this in transaction types. And so this will also obviously determine the ultimate price you're paying. Make sense? So if you don't see that, you're not dealing with a professional platform. So again, Coinbase is not a trading exchange.
Go ahead and ask a question. You can even direct it to.
I'm going.
Okay, there he goes.
Here you go.
I heard talk that there is a way to exchange crypto through a wallet. I'm not as exposed to that, so maybe you talk a little bit about that.
What wallet are you using right now?
Ledger.
Ledger? But you can buy USD, right? You can buy through USD.
Not through Ledger. It just holds the keys, the printer.
Oh, okay.
So I'm talking about exchanging
Can I take
USD
this one?
for.
Yeah.
I want to explain hardware wallets. This is frustrating.
Hardware wallets?
Yeah.
My question was more, so I heard that you could use a wallet to exchange currencies. So that was something that I wasn't familiar with. I don't know too
You
many
can
wallets.
use a wallet to sign transactions.
No,
and
to
therefore,
exchange. So to say, like, I have Ethereum and I want Bitcoin, so I can somehow exchange that within the wallet, is what I heard. It was when this gentleman was speaking earlier.
That sounds tenuous.
No, most software wallets are connected to an exchange directly.
Yeah.
So, and or using a third-party exchange. So they're actually issued by the exchange if you want to look at it this way. So an extension like a client-server system.
So it's really just a pair that you have the key for.
Exactly.
Oh, so you're saying it's
So
just
if you use,
to
the
exchange.
most prominent one would be BitPay, right? So you can just put in your dollars and you buy whatever you want, or whatever they have on the menu. Right?
Okay, got it.
And that's just your wallet, so you never have to go to an exchange.
Hi, Chris. So my question to you was, you said a couple of things during your presentation. One that I found really intriguing. One is, don't hold all your tokens here in the U.S. The last thing you said right before you finished was, you know, by the end of next year, you might not even have these exchanges. You know, blockchains of peer-to-peer transaction, right? Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Yeah.
You don't really need exchanges in a peer-to-peer system, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we needed phone companies in the past, right? Right now, with Skype, you don't need a phone company, although now that Microsoft bought it, you almost need a phone company again. That's a different issue. But yeah, at the end of the day, you'll probably see that every wallet will support all the coins that you want to use, and you just exchange it directly with me, right? So if I have an order out there, I want to get whatever coin from you, we can just match it using just the wallet. Because at the end of the day, every token is a bearer instrument. Remember that, right? So I can right now take it out of my wallet physically, give it to you, you have it, right? So that we have the exchanges as really just the market maker to determine, okay, we can agree on the price.
Right.
But you can entirely outsource this and you don't really need more than a handful, if at all. And why pay every time you send it through this way? Plus, why would you trust someone else with your cash, in essence? Right? You don't go to your dealer and leave your cash there and ask him later to give it out, and it's convenient for him. Right? So that's why I don't think that there's a long-term play. It's kind of an old analogy that we adopted. That's why we call it exchanges, but should really exist. I don't really see that.
What happened happens to trading then?
What happens to trading?
You know, trading, right? Speculative.
Yeah. So trading goes back to this idea of currency, right? Why do we have currency? Currencies are just the language of trade. At the end of the day, you want to buy something, you actually want to use something, you want to have a service of sorts, you want to have a product of sorts, right? As long as you can still accomplish that, if we call it Bitcoin or Euro or Badaki, it doesn't really matter, right? So, and if we can do this one-on-one and you get me the product that I want, why would I need a name for it even, right? Doesn't even make sense. So that's why all this is intermittent, what's happening right now. And also keep in mind, all of these platforms, they're all in alpha state. None of this is thought through. Why should proof of work survive, right? Everybody knows it takes a lot of energy, and some miners, someplace in China makes money on you doing a transaction. Where's the long-term viability of that concept? I just don't see it, just on a logical basis. Unless someone can explain it to me.
And then one last, and you mentioned why not hold all your tokens here in the US?
Oh, why not in the US? I didn't say that. No, it's very simple. So I used to be a lawyer in the old world, right? So and all of blockchain is not like it's happening in the US. Actually, most of it is not happening in the US. It's really not very relevant to the United States because I assume most people, if not all people in this room, have bank accounts. Right? So it's more interesting for people, like 2 billion other people that never had a bank account, they couldn't get a bank account because they might not even have an ID, etc. So this will step over all those steps. So what happens in the process is, so they, being the third in developing nations, all of a sudden have very efficient systems that never had a credit card fee attached to it, that never had a building that said bank on it with a bank teller that someone somehow needed to pay for. They just started to transact this way. They didn't need a bank, they didn't need an ID, they just needed a smartphone, and no one cared because, again, it comes back to, it's a bearer instrument. I can just give it to you. It's a digital bearer instrument, though. It's way more efficient. So that's at the essence of blockchain, I think, that people overlook and always talk about currencies. The currency part to me is not very interesting. Again, I like to call it rubber duckies.
I disagree with the bearer instrument thing.
Oh, he disagrees with the bearer instrument. That's going to be interesting.
So I disagree.
I disagree on the token bearer instrument thing for a couple reasons. I think that you are correct once you have the token out to an exchange.
Step that piece.
What was that?
You want to step the custody service entirely, always.
Yeah.
That is artificial.
Anyway, my point is that if you're talking about specifically an ERC20 token, right, which are a lot of tokens riding on top of Ethereum, they're backed by a smart contract, and modifications to that token's ledger inside the smart contract are controlled by the code of the smart contract itself. So essentially the legal agreement that is on top of the Ethereum blockchain controls the exchange of the token. That's why I don't agree.
Okay, it's not quite right. So most of the ICO stuff is essentially you're creating the token once you throw it into a wallet, right? It's still a smart contract. It's a very, very simple smart contract.
Right, but to actuate that trade, you've got to sign off on it through the smart contract, which controls the logic of how the ledger operates.
Sure, you're recording the trade. That's always happening with every single one.
Right, but the machinery for how that, like, a bearer instrument is I give you something and now it's yours, right?
Right.
Now there's a smart contract in the middle that says, maybe I can give you that something if these conditions are met.
Okay.
That's no longer a bearer instrument.
Oh, that's a good point.
Is this boring, everybody?
No, keep going,
okay.
fight.
Okay. So. No. So the part that I think we can agree on. So ERC20 is essentially a standard to create tokens. Sean, I'm talking. ERC20 is essentially a standard to create tokens. Actually, there's a couple of new ERCs out there right now. Yeah, and so those, I mean, in certain circles we just call those tokens and everything else coin. And coin is typically the organic coin that you're running on your own blockchain.
There's organic coin.
Yes.
Can I get my Whole Foods?
But then the point being is they control their launch. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, question. Go for it. All right, question.
So you said that people in the U.S. are not allowed to participate in the ICO, so how will we be able to participate in the exchange?
Working on it. E-citizenship in Estonia.
What's your role in it?
I'm just sitting here.
Rocking man.
I'm helping out in the background. So as you notice, I have an international background because, as I mentioned earlier, nothing really is happening in the United States and won't for a long time. Right? Even the exchanges that are out there right now, they're not really safe if you think about this, because the regulators haven't made up their mind about the tokens that are listed. So tomorrow they could decide, well, those are all securities that all haven't been registered and they all need to go away. Right? And so the ICOs that are doing it correctly, they are setting it up internationally. If you look at the big things that are happening, so if you look back at the top 15 ICOs, none of those happened in the United States. Ethereum was issued in Switzerland, as you probably know.
So your take on it is if the SEC rules a lot of these as securities retroactively, they're just gonna what, like scrap it all? Like how can they?
For the United States, yeah. For the rest of the world, they don't.
Access to it, or
yeah.
What happens for a point?
And so if it is a security, how would these guys get back into the loop?
As far as the SEC can reach through anybody in the United States, they will ask them to refund your money if there was any money exchanged.
But from the original purchase when you first bought it, right?
Yeah.
But then how do you track that? Do you have
They will hold the company that received the money responsible for that. They're supposed to do KYC, AML procedures, and have all that information about you. And you're supposed to turn this over.
That money is used to buy the meeting already.
Well, we'll be making license plates for a long time.
But then, is that why you go buy a foreign exchange? And that way you can at least diversify?
It always comes back to, as long as it's not regulated here, you don't have a security, right? There's options to do it somewhere else in different circumstances that won't have the same effect once it will be regulated or not. Like, really the way I look at blockchain is really very much like the internet, right? So blockchain is becoming of the internet what it should have been. Ideally, all the regulators will stay out of this, but the reason why they're doing this is not to protect the consumer at the end of the day, right? The consumer doesn't have an office on K Street, they don't lobby Congress, Congress doesn't ask the executive branch on behalf of the consumer to do anything. The lobbyists are being paid by the bank. So whatever institutions are out there, whatever projects are out there right now that are causing the most anger to the banking and financial systems, those are going to be most likely the targets. Right? Those are going to be the ones that are suffering. And those are likely related to the exchanges.
So when they say, because a lot of people are saying that the bubbles will burst, the only thing that it can burst is if regulation.
Yeah, that's all, honestly, between you and me, that's propaganda. Because it comes down to the fact, of course there's a bubble, there's hype, there's overzealousness and so forth. But if you look at the money, quote unquote, that's being moved around, that money is all really Ether and Bitcoin, right? So then you got to go back and see what's the origin of the Ether and Bitcoin, where most of the money that's being moved around between those entities came either from the miners or from people that played with the house money that bought Ether and Bitcoin at cheap, right? And so the people that are coming into this right now that buy a couple $100 in Bitcoin, they really don't factor into the equation until it becomes a real groundswell, until it really goes up like a hockey stick, which I hope we will see. As I said, everybody should have an internet account and everybody should have a digital wallet attached to that, right? Why would we still rely on fiat money? think about the concept of fiat money. It's ridiculous. Every bank is a Ponzi scheme, really, right? So, I mean, you're giving a bank $1,000. Based on your $1,000, the bank can give $9,000 to someone else. They don't pay you any interest, but the $9,000 earn them 10%, 20% interest. If you and I did this, we'd be in prison.
But they have the strongest militaries in the world.
Banks, yeah. At the end of the day,
decide to come marching down.
Sure.
Where's your army?
Right. So, but then it goes all back to the ability to print money. So, as a nation, the United States is really not much better off than Greece was when Pimple pulled the plug on Greece. To this day, you can take only 50 euros out of the bank account in Greece a day.
Yeah, that's Greece.
Right.
They're not the reserve currency, the dollar. So it's the Greek army against the U.S. Comparing apples and oranges.
Yes, the U.S. dollar is still the world's reserve currency at the top. I mean, there's three
That's dumb how that works.
There's three other ones, right? China doesn't want the U.S. to be in that mix. China's now the largest economy.
Now, what would you say, like, what country is the most progressive in
Switzerland right now? By far. So I'm promoting the Swiss model. I've been working with the Swiss law firms for a long time. Switzerland issues, but I mean, in Switzerland we have teasers. Okay, teasers now has kind of a bitterness to it, but obviously Ether and Ethereum. But think about it this way. I said this many times before. Switzerland, what do they have? They have chocolates, they have cheese, but other than that, they're a large bank. Right? So Switzerland is rolling out 1,000 Bitcoin ATMs right now. What does that tell you? Right? So they wouldn't bet their economy on something that they don't think is going to be around. So they are very progressive in that sense.
So I just want to thank you all, and you know, what time is it? Let's go maybe 15 minutes out there, or just mingle and talk, and then we got to turn the lights off. So thank you very much for coming, you guys.